Hey guys, and welcome back to the Matthew 5:14 podcast. Today I'm so excited because I got my two best friends from college with me. I got Sara Beth and Sophie. We're currently in Sara Beth's apartment. It's actually 12:30 at night.
Yeah, have my retainers in.
Yeah, we're all ready for bed. We got observation hours. We're all future teachers, so we have observation hours tomorrow morning. So that'll be fun to wake up for that. And then I got my glasses on because they're kind of the wrong prescription, but my eyes have been getting so bad at night. Like, they, burn at night. So, got those on, feel better. Yeah, they burn. They do. So, I got my glasses on. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. And we're going to talk today about godly friendships, how we met, the dynamics of our relationship. Just because I think being in college, we see all the time, just ungodly relationships and friendships and just striving and straining that it does not honor God. And we just want to paint a picture of what it looks like to have, godly relationships and friendships and whatnot. So that's our plan. Do you guys have anything to add before I dive into our questions that we're going to talk about?
We're excited. Yeah. Okay, this is so cool. It's our podcast.
Yes. Sara Beth was saying that her new fun fact for the rest of her life, when people ask her for a fact, is that she's been on a podcast.
Yes.
I'm glad.
So cool.
So yeah, we're just going to dive into this. It's going to be very laid back. We have questions and we already talked about them. It's not really questions. It's more just conversations and topics. Mm-hmm. So I feel in my typical podcast, I ask somebody a question, but this is just going to be more conversations. Yeah. And we have a timer set for 30 minutes to be aware, because otherwise we'll talk forever. Yeah. So without further ado, that's a YouTube video. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to talk about how we met. And so I want to give a precursor to how we met. Before I came to Ole Miss, one of my leaders, she told me to really make sure to pray for my future friends, because that was so crucial in coming to an environment, especially a secular college where a lot of sin does happen, and me wanting to stay strong in my faith, was that I needed to make sure that I prayed for, godly friends that would be there for me on this journey. And, I prayed about the different things I wanted. And one of the biggest things on my heart was that I wanted, godly girlfriends that actually were living out their faith. They didn't just say they were a Christian. It wasn't just, a Bible verse in their bio or a cross around their neck, but it was an action that they lived out every single day. Mm-hmm. And the fruits of their spirit, reflected that. They were actually honoring God with their actions. And that is exactly what Sophie and Sara Beth do. Their life just reflects Jesus. And so that's such an answered prayer. And I think how we became friends too is so God. Yeah. So I just want to use that as a light and example. If you don't have friends, because I think being far of Jesus, sometimes we go through lonely seasons, don't always have friends. Really be intentional about praying for your friendships and praying for your future friends and what you want in them, but also be that friend too. And work on being the best version of yourself in whatever season you're in to be what God is calling you to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, do you guys want to talk about how do we want to go about the story? Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to do first impressions and then say how we met, from there?
How we got here.
You would start.
Yeah. Okay, well, coming out of high school, I did not have, I had a group of friends, but, I guess, coming out of high school, all of my friends were going to, senior colleges, and I was not feeling like that was where the Lord was leading me. I felt like He was leading me to go to a junior college, and so I literally, going to junior college was the last thing that I wanted to do. Last thing I wanted to do. I was I want to go to all this and all this stuff, but just surrendered that to the Lord, and I prayed about it, and I got peace on going to junior college. And so I went to junior college, and those 2 years at junior college, I did not have any friends, but that was my time that I grew in the Lord, and I became so complete in the Lord. So anytime that you're questioning where the Lord is leading you, and just have faith for where you're going, because where you're headed, you have a bright future. Anyways, that's beside the point. Anyways, so I went to junior college. I got super, just my passion for the Lord just really grew. And that was definitely like a vital part of like my journey with the Lord. And so when I got to Ole Miss, I was like complete in Jesus, and I was fine. Like if I was going to be like no friends for the rest of my college life, like it was going to be like okay because I had like that validation from the Lord that I had grown up. But anyways, so I get to Ole Miss, and I like met y'all, and I already knew Sara Beth. Like of Sara Beth. We were actually at the same junior college. It was crazy.
Yeah, and we both didn't have friends.
We both were in like lonely seasons, but I definitely felt like God was keeping both of us like
we were meant to be lonely during that.
It wasn't like
we need to have a dependency on
Yeah. And then we met Carter really randomly. Like I was walking out of class one day, and she was like, "You're so pretty."
I forgot about that.
She's so good at complimenting y'all. She's just perfect. Anyway,
so sweet.
She was just like, "You're so pretty," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so nice." And we were like, "Let's sit together," and then we kind of like all got together.
Yeah.
That was my time.
It was for me. So it's funny, like we went to the same junior college, but we had a class together, and I sat in the front row, and Sophie, she would see me, and like I didn't even know she was like there. But
I would see her, and I was like, she looks so cool because she'd always come in class wearing these like ball hats.
Yeah.
Sara Beth is like the coolest human. She's so vibey.
But okay, so with Sophie, I would come to Oxford periodically to visit my friends here, and I became friends with Sophie's brother first, and then he told me about you, and I followed you on Instagram, and that was a whole year before we met. But when I followed you on Instagram, I was already in the class with you, but I just really did not know it. But a year goes by, and then first day of class, like I see you, and I was like, whoa, like she's real, you know. Anyways, like see each other, connect, bam. And then with Carter, like this is like it's like really cool. Like,
yeah, the story of how like we met, which then opened the door to our friendship.
Yeah.
Only by God, because it also
Yeah.
was the timing, because you had stayed after to talk to our teacher, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what I was still doing in the class. It was just like
I was like introducing myself to the professor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I always like to say thank you to my teachers before I leave, and to thank them, for what they're doing.
Day one.
So like I feel like I was just like I think that's what I was doing. I was waiting because everyone was like different people were like talking to him.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Actually, I don't know. I might have been doing that, but God had me in there for a reason for that time because people had already left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, you can keep going.
Okay, yeah. So speaking of doors, so God like literally opened up the door as in I remember we were walking into the class and there was like a sheet of paper on it and then it had fallen and I was like, oh, I should put this up, and there was like a line behind me. I was like, I'm not gonna put it up right now. Whole class goes by and then we're leaving like nobody else put it up, so then I was like, I'm gonna tape up like the piece of paper that fell. I put it back up because it's so sticky, whatever. And then we had to stay after class, and then Carter, she, like, I was taping up, and then she's like, oh, like, I'll hold the door open for you. And I was like, oh, thanks. Like, no, like, my name's blah, blah, blah. And her name's like, blah, blah, blah. And then, next thing I know, like, 3 hours have gone by, and me and Carter have literally opened up and been so vulnerable about pretty much, like, we've touched basis on, like, where we're from, our families, all the way down to like our deepest darkest.
Yeah, like our testimonies. Like, it was such a comfortable environment.
I think like that was like one of our like get to know you questions. It's like, so testimony.
Yeah, because I feel like that's like such a common like believer thing. It's like, how did you come to know Jesus?
Yeah.
Like, because that's how we all connect.
But then another thing that was really cool with you, speaking of like loneliness and stuff, like I was still in my lonely season all the way up until like first day of spring semester. And the day before we came, I was like weeping to my mom, and I was crying to her about like just how I was struggling so hard to like find friends, and like I mentioned something about like social media and how like I didn't have Snapchat, but like if y'all have Snapchat, like it's like your own thing, but like for me personally, that's just not what I haven't done in a while. And anyway, so I don't have on that. I don't get on it. So people they would like ask me for it, and like I was like I don't have it, but then they wouldn't like take the second step to like ask for my number or just like we got on the topic of social media and we had like the same mindset about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, like that's literally what I pretty much prayed about like the night before.
God is so good. Like,
Yeah.
you just like, here you go, Sara Beth. Like,
Yeah. And then we all
You,
three
like,
became
connected.
like a triangle because I was like,
Because
you need to
she-
meet her.
Yeah.
And she had already spoken to me, and like,
Yeah.
I was, like, walking out. It was like we were
We
like,
met separately.
it was like we went mad.
Yes, it was almost like Jesus was like paving the way by like us having the interaction.
Yeah.
Then,
And we all three met though because after class that random day, like you just happened to be staying down there with Valerie.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
I was like, well, wait, there she is. Like,
Yeah, we
like,
all-
it was like, oh, you know?
it was perfect. And like, so, because we're all education majors, they're both elementary ed, I'm special ed. So, Sophie and I we have two classes together, and then we have one class, and then do you guys have more than one class together? So yeah, we all have. It feels like we have more though, but then that one class we have is like a long class, and so we're always like, I see Sophie in like class Monday through Thursday,
Every day,
every morning, 8 a.m. Yes, it's a great way to start the morning. And then I see, Sara Beth every, Monday, Wednesday, or whatever. But we were all like, that was also so God ordained that we all had those, classes together. And another thing that's interesting about like the dynamics of our friendship and, story and whatnot is that I'm actually 18 and you guys turn 21 and you'll be turning 21.
Yeah.
So like they're older than I am, but
Every time you bring it up, it's just so bizarre. to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, here, stop saying that.
They make me feel older. Like being here, like I feel like all the people I've had deep connections with, it's like they are older than me.
Yeah.
You guys are so kind. You guys are mature too.
Beyond your years.
Oh, you guys are too. And I feel like that's just how, like, when you walk with Jesus, like, he fills you up with his wisdom, not the world's, fake wisdom.
you're like
A woman of Proverbs.
And that's like, when you walk with Jesus, that's like how much
of the Lord.
Yeah. But I really want to highlight on the fact of how, like, it's so important that, like, we trust Jesus. We've already talked so much.
For half the
Yeah,
time.
for half the
Oh
time.
my god.
We're going to make it through. Jesus has a plan. But I feel like we're hitting on the other things, too.
Yeah, we've gone,
Yeah, we're getting there. But I just want to highlight on the fact that, like, when we give it to God and we entrust it to him, like, he has such a beautiful plan and purpose for us, like, we could never create for ourselves. And like in all of our stories. And I think one of the biggest things is that we were all living out our callings individually when we were led to one another. And so it's just a reminder to you guys, if you're in a season where you do feel lonely or you're waiting on something, even if it's not a friendship, but if it's a dating relationship, if it's a job, if it's confirmation on something, whatever it is, like just know and remember that when you're living out what God has for you and you're walking out the call, on your life, then everything's going to line up like properly. Cause like we were all lined up, properly. And hopefully like our friendship and how we met can just like shine a light in your life on like God's love and like his timing and like his faithfulness.
And it's definitely like an element of trust. Like, you like Peter had to like get out of the boat and like trust that like he was gonna stand on the water and like walk on the water. So like if the Lord's calling you to like get out of the boat and like get out of your comfort zone, like trust that the Lord like has you and trust that like he'll lead you and he'll guide you and like keep your eyes on the Lord and don't take your eyes off the Lord because like the Lord's your leader and you need to keep your eyes on Jesus because when Peter took his eyes off of Jesus, that's when he sunk. So keep your eyes on Jesus and you won't sink and you won't fall into the traps of, of confusion and loneliness and things like that.
Yeah.
Sophie is preaching. And that's, you had mentioned in your, story, in your testimony, how, coming, like going to junior college and your, journey of coming here was that you had to be away from everything so you could be truly satisfied in Jesus. And I think like all of our testimonies can like come to that point because we have all walked in seasons of loneliness and separation because God wants to take out the distractions in our lives so we can be totally focused on him because he's a jealous God. Like he wants our eyes to be all on him, like our whole mind, heart, soul, everything set on him.
And like it can look different than how you imagined. And sometimes like your waiting season is longer than you were anticipating. And I mean, Jesus himself had to wait 33 years until his, you know,
His time.
his time started. Yeah, so
That's such a
sometimes you
point.
gotta sit down for a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's purpose in it all, and his timing is never early. It is never late. It is always
Right on
right
time.
on time.
Even if that's not your timing, because your timing is like your mindset of how it should be does not always line up with God's, and that's where it's like just pray that like your desire becomes God's,
Yes.
or that
Yeah.
your desire becomes God's.
You can't be in a rush, but gotta get out of the boat when it's time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's like you're not. Don't be focused like on the time thing. Like if you're following the Lord and like you're trusting like the Lord and you're following those steps, you're following the peace of God. God will put you in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right things, and you will follow and meet who you're supposed to meet, and just be everything will be right.
Yeah.
The door's
So
open.
good. Yes,
Literally.
the door open for Sara Beth, and
Yeah.
Jesus, bless that. So yeah, the doors will be open. And I feel like it's so interesting because this is like, yeah, we're talking about friendship, but this is like so like dating advice
Applicable.
too.
Yeah.
But also just like any season.
Or like
of
waiting
life.
for your right job or something.
Yeah, just like the next step. Especially like being in college, like, figuring out, okay, what am I going to do after college? Or what am I going to do in the summers, in between semesters? It's like, ooh, life just got real. What am I going to do,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Also, okay, we're going to quickly, I want to quickly go through this, but we're not going to spend like a lot of time on it really quick. I want to mention on the first impressions we had. Because and just how we, overcoming that. So I guess
Not judge a book.
Seriously, do not judge book by its cover. Do you want me to share how I felt towards you guys? Okay. So I saw Sara Beth first in class, and I remember, and we had talked about this. I just thought she was she looked weird, and this is I feel so terrible for saying that, but quirky weird.
Yeah.
But one thing I did really notice was she was very confident in herself, and you asked questions, and I really respected. But I was I thought you were a little weird, I guess. But we talked about it. And and then whenever it gets late, Sophie just laughs. Sophie always laughs. Y'all, she got her wisdom teeth out over spring break.
Oh my
The
God.
videos. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
It was an experience.
It's so funny. When I saw Sophie, I thought okay, this actually sounds so terrible on my part, how I saw you guys.
It's funny.
Yeah.
People are going to listen to this and be
But you had your guard up in the first place.
Yeah, that is a good point. I think I was very, and even when Sara Beth introduced me to Sophie, I was very aware of, how Sophie was speaking, just because I was seeking to, find friends, and, guard my heart. Yeah, and, no matter, okay, who are going to be acquaintances, who are going to be friends, who are going to be best friends.
Yeah.
And you guys were best friends, but, that did take being guarded, so thank you for pointing that out. That's good. Yeah. But when I first saw Sophie, and I feel I feel like people are going to listen to this and be like, dang, I wonder what, she would think if she met me. I am not, well, maybe I do need to work on being not judgmental, but when
But, your first thoughts, it's not whenever you, saw me, being weird, it's not you, broke me off.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't I slammed the door in your face.
It's just man,
I just took note of it. Yeah. It's just if you play a sport, you take note of the player, and you're oh, they're good. Yeah. So, did not me point out the athlete cards. Anyways, but with Sophie, I thought she was going to be a mean sorority girl, and she's literally the nicest person on earth. But so
I gave you a death stare when I walked past.
no, I think you're also you are so gorgeous. So it's just I don't know, you fit that vibe. But yeah,
You're gorgeous too.
Aw, thanks. Yes. But yeah, so those are my first impressions. But what's so interesting is that you guys are totally the opposite of what I thought. I thought you were gonna be weird. You're the coolest person on earth. I thought you were gonna be mean, and you're the kindest, sweetest person on earth. So it's just I think that's a reminder to us, do not let your first impressions keep you from, what God has for you, because we will psych ourselves out, and, the enemy will work through that. So, pray for your heart to be, open. But, yeah, you guys want to share your first impressions, then we do need to move on to the next
Yeah. I thought Sophie was I was just oh my god, this is real. It's finally happening, we're friends. And then Carter, on our first class, they were like, you know, like where'd you go to school? Blah, 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 where are you from? And like, she said she was from Virginia, and I was like, oh, you're North. You know, I was like the Northern girl. But
Yeah. And you thought I was there, like, just to get a degree, like, take the box.
yeah. Well, I thought, because she said that her dad, something about her dad, like, not graduating high school and like having like a business or whatever. And I was like, oh, she's like one of those girls that like easy elementary degree. And I was like, you're just here to like party the South type deal. But obviously not.
That's totally the opposite too.
Yeah.
Like getting the degree because I love it and I don't even party.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally all of our impressions we have besides y'all's, and like you're like everything with like Sophie is just like golden. But like it was so opposite of what we originally thought.
Well, no. Carter, I thought Carter had the best disposition. Like, she was sitting on the other side of the room, and like, she was like talking to the teacher, and I was like, I want to be like that, talking to a teacher. Like, she just had like such a good like disposition, and the way she was communicating, great communicator. I was like, she's probably a really good communicator.
That is
she
so
talks
funny.
a lot. I did think that.
I did think
Yeah, we all
I did that too. And I was like,
Wow. But like,
but I'm a lot. We're all three.
No,
Yeah, that's why we're like literally, guys. We've already been filming for 21 minutes.
Yeah.
but like everything that comes out of Carter's mouth is like fruit. Like it's fruitful, and it's so good and so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sara Beth, I was like, oh, y'all, like she's such a vibe. Like she got like in class, I was like, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And she's just such like a joyful person, and like you know, when you're around her, you'll feel just so much joy. And when you're around Carter, like it's the same. Like you feel heard when you're around both of them, and so.
That's so fine. Literally helping each other.
The other thing about our dynamic is we literally will spend like 70% of our conversations is compliments.
It's not more than 70%. It might be even more than that.
Yeah.
Because I think like one thing that we talked about is that it's so easy, especially with girls, to fall into a competition trap.
Especially in a group of three.
Yes, and it's like a hierarchy. It's almost like a triangle. Someone wants to be at the top, you know, and so it's like a competition of who's the prettiest, who's got the best personality, who wears the best clothes, who drives the best car, you know, who does this, blah, blah, blah. And like with us, like I have never once felt that I had to measure up and like.
Yeah, we do a good job at like not, I like keeping it like
balance.
y'all aren't closer than we are.
Yeah, that's such a good point. We have our moments
like what I share with you is like it's like a
like we all share everything we share with each other. Like we all share
Marco Polo, like when I'm sending you know.
Yeah, and it's really healthy, and I think that stems from our relationships with the Lord. That we don't find
maturity.
Yeah. We don't find our validation in like each other and like each other's like
opinions.
Like it's in the Lord, and so that's why the dynamics of our friendship.
Yeah,
it's not toxic.
And it's like a trust. Like I trust that, like being selective with your friends comes with like trusting yourself that like you made a good selection. So like I trust that like whatever I can say to you, I can also say to you. Like it's the same level of trust.
Yeah,
you know,
and like the same level of vulnerability because we all are in like similar boats. You know, similar stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, and too, it's really fun, like, having, like, really deep conversations with them, because you don't just get, like, one opinion, like, you get two, and we all, like, bounce off of each other, and so, like, you're getting, like, double the advice. It's like...
And we're all running into, like, the same...
Our
like,
goal is
but
like
different dynamics.
Yeah. It's fun.
And I think, like, and another thing that's, like, so awesome about it is that it's a judgment-free zone, you know? And, like, so we're not, like, competing with each other, but we also don't judge each other. So, like, I just kind of, like, walked through something that, like, I was, like, navigating and figuring out. And I did have free will and choice in it. And I could have, like, chosen two different routes. And, like, Sara Beth and Sophie, like, I think, like, we all knew that there was a route that I needed to take and that God was calling me to. But they were not judging me, like, you need to, like, obviously they held me accountable, but it was kind of like, we will love you no matter what, and, like, we trust that, like, you will make the right decision. And they, like, I was able to, like, open up my heart and talk about it and express it, and they were just able to meet me with, like, so much wisdom and, like, guidance in that, and I just think that's so healthy because, like, I never felt, like, dumb, I guess. Or,
Yeah.
Or, like, weird about it, or like, oh, like, maybe I'm just crazy. Like, they made me feel seen and heard.
And it makes you feel closer to the person, too. And this goes with, like, dating relationships, too. But, like, when situations come up, like, you have to your first assumption has to be that, like, they were doing what they thought was best. So, like, it's just coming to, like, an understanding. And then in that is where, like, the, like, best decisions come out. So, like, even if, like, I disagree with what you're saying, like, my first thought would be, I still trust that she made the best decision that she could with what she believes.
Yeah.
You know?
It's making sure you understand that person's heart. And I feel like coming to college has been, like, a big thing. Like, I've learned that, and, like, growing up in maturity is that it's so important, like, that when the time is right and the situation is right, but to make sure that, like, you do express your heart, not in a mean way, not, like, yelling, arguing, but, like, in an open way, like, okay, this is why I said this is why I did this. That doesn't mean you justify what you're doing. That doesn't mean you're excusing it. That doesn't mean, you know, you're causing yourself to sin in that, but, like, you're able to say, okay, like, you can better understand me in the situation, you know, understanding, like, my heart in this.
Yeah.
And I feel like we do a good job of that, of, like, sharing our heart.
And no, I don't expect you guys to know what I'm thinking. Like, we're very good on communicating.
And, like, we leave room for, like, disagreement. Like, and if we, like, disagree, we're like, we don't
agree to disagree.
We disagree, and, like, we don't, like, yell at each other. We're like, here's what I think, but, like, you know, it's like, it's fine.
You're listening too.
Yeah. Literally yesterday on FaceTime, you guys told me, you were like, you know, we're not, like, trying to, like, judge you on your decision or tell you what to do. Like, we'll support you.
I feel like we got to the point where we, like, where me and so people are, like, giving, like advice. And it's like, wait, hold on. We gotta know how to make our own decisions. And, like, we're just talking because we can talk.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys are literally, like, that's one thing that is also so abundant, like, so, you know, evident and abundant in a, you know, godly friendships is, like, it's a pot of wisdom. Like, literally, when we're together,
it's just like,
yes, it's literally iron sharpening iron.
Yes.
And we were just actually on spring break. We actually just saw each other again yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, technically, because it's technically Wednesday now.
Yeah.
But, you know, because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. But anyways, that's so college. But we were just on, like, spring break. You know, we all had our spring break. And coming back, like, it was just, like, so refreshing because, like, there was just so much wisdom being shared. And, like, I just think of it like a pot of wisdom, and you're just able to, like, and maybe, okay, that just made me think this is so kind of, like, cringy, but, like, the scene, I love Disney movies, and Winnie the Pooh, I'm going sorry about this, and love Winnie the Pooh, guys, I love Disney, but in Winnie the Pooh, he, like, dreams, like, a pot of honey, and he, like, swims around in it, and it's just, like, a ton of honey, and he's just, like, eating it, and, like, that's what, like, godly friendship should be. It should be like a pot of honey where you can just, like, swim in wisdom. And, like, you're just eating up each other's wisdom because you're all, like, abounding in it. So, isn't that Winnie the Pooh, you know, connection?
We never, I do know, like, they can vouch for this, but, like, none of us ever, like, leave after we've, like, hung out with each other. Like, none of us leave, like, depleted or, like, feeling like, like, that was so toxic. Like, it's always, like, wow, they're amazing. I'm so uplifted.
Yes.
I feel like that's, like, again, like, the maturity that, like, in our loneliness, like, we got to the point where, like, we don't need to rely on our friends to fill us up. Like, when I'm with y'all, like, my goal is to, like, like, when we met for spring break, like, it was, like, everybody had their turn to, like, talk about, but, like, I was sharing with y'all because y'all wanted to hear. And, like, I wanted to hear what y'all said, you know, and, like, the wisdom that we were sharing, like, comes from our loneliness again because, like, we get filled from the Lord first. Like, we wouldn't have wisdom to share if it wasn't for Him being in us in the first place, you know? So it's not even like it's like the best friendships come from an energy source outside of yourself.
Yes.
You know?
And it's, like, all to Jesus. Like, we are nothing and we would be nothing without Him.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Solid rock foundation.
Indeed. And then, like, another thing, just, like, to have on with our friendship is that, like, what we do, like, in, like, the activities we partake in, like, is wholesome, is pure, like, it reflects Jesus. And, like, this isn't, like, I don't want to be, like, a Bible thumper moment where it's, like, do this, don't do that, you know, like, and, like, condemn you or anything. But, like, you know, what we, like, partake in is like good. Like we don't like we
he has to pay attention to your energy you feel.
Yeah, and like we've never gossip.
Gossip, and then like too, like the things that we choose to do, like we don't go out and party together. Like we go like there's things like you can do, and like I feel like as you grow older, like you know. Like, we cook together, and we, like, eat together.
Tuesday nights, nights.
We spend the night parties.
Like,
it's
all, like, you never, like, because we're not going out to parties, and, like, we're not living the wild life. Like, we're living the good life. We're living the sweet life.
Yes.
The honey pot.
Yes, connected. Yes. And that's, like, the thing. It's, like, you know, we are doing things that are good, not just for our soul, but also for our mind, our body, you know, our emotions and everything. And
what gives us peace.
Yeah, and we also, like, we do what we love and we get to do it together.
Yes.
Like, we all enjoy working out. And, you know, we share it. And it does look like, you know, going and getting coffee, or we do our spend the night sleepover parties Tuesday nights. Tonight, Sara Beth made us like the salmon meal. Y'all, it was so good.
She's a cook.
She is. Yeah, we're the eaters.
We eat.
I did not cook to save my life. Like I messed up. Yeah, I messed up oatmeal in my dorm the first week. But it also, in my defense, it was stone cut oatmeal, and I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
And like the way I make it has to be different now. And I felt so terrible. I was like, how? And I never messed up oatmeal when I was like at home. I messed up with something. I was like, is it because I put like protein powder? And I was like, is it because of the protein powder? Like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
But that's such a side note. That was just like really having a bad. Like, I'm terrible at cooking. She's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she made us like a salmon like restaurant meal, and I messed up and burnt oatmeal one time. Multiple times, actually. Yeah, we learn.
It happens.
We learn.
Yes. Okay, let me make sure. Let me look at our notes, make sure we went over everything. I think we did. So.
Oh, wait, I want to have one more thing.
Okay, go for it.
One of my best advices that I've gotten in terms of, and this goes along with like your coworkers, your family, like, you know, people in your class, stuff like that. In terms of like you can say like it's like gossip, but then also understand like when someone needs like a little bit of extra help. It's like we're a team, and like the groups of people that you're involved in like is your team. Like, your church community is your team, and, you know, just whatever you're doing, like, wherever you're at, even if it's just one person, like, that's your teammate. So, the saying is, protect your team. So, like, let's say, like, Sophie was, like, trying, not to say she would never, but, like, Sophie was, like, trying to, like, hate on Corey, like, one day, like, me partaking and, like, listening to that isn't even, it's, like, not protecting my team. And it's, like, we would never talk bad about each other because we're there to protect each other.
Yeah, and if we have
you just shut it down. Like, if like, the thought is even there, you have to be like, no, because this is something that God put together, and I'm not going to let the enemy come in and bring strife and break it up.
Yeah, and that's also, like, what I was saying in the beginning, too. It's just, like, trusting, like, you made them, like, you chose to be their friends, like, you have to understand, like, number one, like, we're all human, and, like, we're all gonna mess up, and, like, we're talking about, like, godly friendships and stuff, but, like, we're all gonna have, like, messed up moments, you know? Yeah. So, like, we're all human, and, like, God gives us grace, and, like, y'all get the grace every single time, and, like, our first instinct is always to, like, protect this because it is good, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's so good. I love that.
Yeah.
And, you know, because there's going to be times like, and you're going to get offended, though, by people, like, just because we are only human and people are going to hurt you. It's just important that, like, you bring it to them. It's like, if you ever did something that hurt me, or if you ever did something that hurt me, like, I just have to bring it to you, you know, versus...
And, like,
it does.
Because, like, you would only bring it up to, like, better the friendship.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And also, you know, make sure that if you do, so if, you know, you are listening to this and maybe you're realizing, wait, what? I know. But if, like, you realize that there is an offense in your heart right now, or, like, there's something that you need to settle with somebody, you know, make sure you bring it to them, but also make sure you go in open-minded that, like, you can mess up too, and, like, maybe they're, like, like, where you mess up as well, because, you know, you are broken as well, like, we're all broken, and, like, we all need that forgiveness of Jesus, and so make sure that, like, you don't go into, like, offenses thinking that, like, you're perfect, and they're not, because we all make mistakes, and if Jesus, like, forgave you, then, like, you know, we gotta be willing to forgive others, because otherwise, how we truly accepted his forgiveness towards us.
Right. Open to correction.
Yeah.
Like your friends that the Lord put in your life, like, they're there also to, like, help you grow. And, like, so sometimes, like, correction, like, it doesn't feel good, but, like, you need it to grow. And so, like, the people that the Lord put close to you, like, they're there for a reason. And so when correction comes, don't get mad. Like, be like, thank you. Like, hear that.
See it as something to delight in. And also just want to add on the fact that, like, you know, we're not perfect at these things that we're talking about. You know, like, we make mistakes, we mess up. Like, you know, we're going to be imperfect in our friendships together, in our friendships with others, in our relationships, in anything in life. And so I don't want you guys to think that, like, we're perfect, because we're not. And I just hope that you guys were able to see, like, what godly friendships looks like, especially in college, because it can be a hard way to navigate, and just understanding that, like, you know, because I think so many people think that, like, if you know, are actually living out your faith and you're surrounding yourself with good people, then it's not going to be fun. And, like, we've all experienced sin. We've all lived different wild stories and had different parts of that. And I just want to tell you guys, like, this life is so much better and so much more, like, pure and good and sweet than partying and being in the wild scene. And so, like, hopefully you guys are able to see that, like, we have fun together, and, like, our relationship is, like, it builds us up, and there's, you know, it's a judgment-free zone. There's not jealousy. There's not striving and competition, and, like, we are so free to be ourselves, to love one another, to grow, to flourish, and just to live life together. And it's a gift from Jesus. So hopefully you guys got to see that today. And our prayer is that, like, you guys can experience that for yourself with your friends.
And it's like encouragement, you know, that that you just wait for the God friends that will come into your life, and even if that means separating yourself from the friends that are not living for the Lord, like, it's better to separate yourself and to live alone with God than to be surrounded by, like, worldly friends and start doing the things that they're doing, because you're just going to end up hurt. So wait for the friends that God has for you, because he has friends for you. And you might have to wait a little bit, but it's so worth it. Like, we literally met, like, 2 months ago, and we're already, like, peanut butter and jelly. So, like, the friends that God has for you, like, they will be there, like, at the season that, like, you need them.
Yeah, for sure. Indeed. All right, well, that was, like, the meat of it all. Now, just like I asked anybody in the podcast, what is your guys' challenge to our listeners to be the light? I'll let you go first, because I know you were led in the Holy Spirit. So I know you know what you want to say.
So I said that mine was I wanted to start using more scripture when I talk, just, like, in everyday conversations. Because every time somebody uses scripture, like, when they're having a conversation with me, I'm like, you know, so I want to be more like that, especially with people, like, even, like, non-believers, like, and, like, I don't have to say, like, you know, like, iron sharpens iron, like, like the verse and, like, all that. I was like, I could say, like, you know, strong people build up strong people, you know, and just, like, stuff like that, or just, like, have his word pour out of me, and, like, in doing that, like, in order for me to fulfill my, you know, light challenge, that means that I have to, you know, get more into the word and be more exposed in that. It's just, like, outreach and
So, personal challenge, like, get in the word, know the word, and then be the light challenge is to go share that with other people in your, you know, interactions. And remember, like, the word is so powerful that, like, even if they don't know it's a Bible verse, like, it can touch them just because it's God speaking. And so, like, you know, do not despise the power, or even referencing the Bible.
You never know what's going to say.
And, like, even if it doesn't touch them, right away. It could touch them years, months, weeks, days,
Yeah.
hours later. You never know. So don't despise the power of a Bible verse. I was going to say a simple Bible verse, but like Bible verses aren't simple; they're powerful. So don't despise the power and the beauty of them.
Yeah.
All right, love that, Sara Beth. Well, what about you, Sophie?
Kind of like bouncing off what Sara Beth said, like getting the word like down in you. And because when you get the word down in you, like the word of God is God's voice. So when you spend time in the word, like you're literally like learning the voice of God. And when you're spending time in the word, like that's like when you hear the Lord's voice the loudest.
Yeah.
So that when you get out in the world and when you get out, in your day-to-day life, you've practiced hearing the Lord's voice in your time in the word. So that when you get out, you'll recognize that voice. And when you're talking with people, like, just like ask the Lord to yourself, like, just be like, Lord, is there anything you want me to do for this person? Like, is there anything like that you are laying on my heart to say to this person? Like, even with like the scriptures, like, Lord, like, is there anything that this person needs to hear? And like, listening for that voice that you hear in your quiet time with the Lord and speaking out of that place, because the Lord knows what they need to hear, and so that's just my challenge to you to be able to.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So just stay like surrendered to the Holy Spirit and what in listening, because sometimes like that's gonna look like giving a compliment and asking like if there's anything you could pray for somebody, or maybe genuinely asking somebody how are you doing, and then like if they say something like I'm all right. I told you about this. I missed an opportunity for this today. So, like, realize you're not going to be perfect at it, but seek our goal in life should be to just look more and more like Jesus every single day. You're not going to be perfect, but just strive to look like Jesus more and more every day. And so, like, genuinely ask someone how they are, and then go off of, like, what they say. And if they say, like, oh, I'm all right, I'm okay, like, be like, how come? Like, what could make your day better? And so really be there for people. And so I love how it all connects together. And then I kind of want to add into that. I think with all of that, use that to be a good friend. Be a good friend that speaks scripture into people's lives. Be a good friend that listens to the Holy Spirit, callings and promptings. Since we talked about godly friendships, because I think those are two great ways to be a good godly friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope you guys love this podcast. I'm so glad that you guys got to be on it. And well, of course, anytime you guys definitely will be coming back sometime, and we'll talk about more stuff. Yeah. But I'm thankful for you guys and thankful that you were able to be on here. And I know so many people are going to be able to hear this and be refreshed and encouraged.
Yes.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and thank you for tuning in. I'm super excited that I was able to have my best friends on here, and I hope you guys were able to learn so much. So until next time, go out, be the light, live love, be a good friend, and we'll be praying for you, and pray for yourself for some good godly friends. So until next time, guys, love you and be the light. Bye.